Rachel. So I'm not sure if everybody can see in the chat. Rachel Devine just put in a note. Hello. Rachel, I saw your new Aussie puppy. Congratulations. It looks sweet as heck. I'm guessing it still has puppy breath. Hey, Amanda. Let's see. Okay, now I can't even keep up with the hellos. So I'm scrolling through them. Oh, hi, Heather. I'm just scrolling through, and it's so good to see everybody. Hi, Laurie. Hi, Candy. All right, I need to stop that. This is exciting to see everybody in here, and I super duper appreciate you all coming out for our session today. So I'm just gonna let people kind of make their way in. Oh, Missouri, you don't see that very often. So somebody's here from Missouri and Wyoming. Jackson Hole, one of my favorite ski resorts. I know there's more to Wyoming than Jackson Hole. Oh, Daytona Beach, very fun. And okay, wow, keeping up with the good mornings is going to be a little bit tough. We got someone from Ottawa up here in Canada. Oh, Newfoundland, and I know they're not the same, but my husband's in Labrador right now. He's in the middle of a 3-week stint there. He is a host of a fly fishing TV show. I guess there is such a thing. Anyways, he is up in Labrador for 3 weeks filming. So that's very cool. He's loving it. And oh, someone's here from Mexico. Very nice. And someone from Chicago. I will be in Chicago next week for Tax Twitter and then for Bridging the Gap. I think you're going to see Financial Sense at Bridging the Gap as well. Very exciting. Ooh, Bolton, Ontario, just up the road. Hi, Bolton. And all right, Kelly, that's enough. You can't play in the chat all day long, right? I would like to, though. I love interacting with people. Okay, so we only have 45 minutes, so I better get on with getting on, right? We are going to be talking about setting up workflows and processes, pre-automation. So we're going to learn how to lay the foundation for automation by setting up robust accounting processes and workflows. One of my favorite sayings is, automation built on lousy systems will accelerate lousy outcomes. So today we're going to talk about building the systems so that your automations work out the way you plan them to. Hello there and welcome. I'm Kellie Parks. I want every accounting professional to lead a cloud-based firm as much as I do. I am a runner, skier. Here's my life by the numbers, wife to 1, mother to 3. I love Aussies. I have 2 of them, the 4-legged kind. And my husband and I love to road trip and enjoy live music. Oh, doesn't want to advance. So today's agenda, we're going to go down the road of starting with the end in mind. What is the end you are trying to achieve with both your processes and systems and any automation you may set up later? Create your milestones first. Don't complicate the process, which we all love to do, right? And add the elements as you go, the elements of your workflow systems and processes. And we're going to do a little quick chat on making a list of the lists you need to create. Who doesn't love creating a list of the lists? You know what I keep doing? I keep clicking on the image, not on my actual slide deck. So here we go. I think I can advance it now. So one of my other favorite sayings is stop overthinking and just do one thing. But I'm going to counter that a little bit. Although I don't want you to get stuck on starting, defining your outcome will give you an optimal result for your systems and processes and certainly for your automation. So it's super important that you decide what is the outcome you are hoping to achieve. Why are you building this process? Why do you need this workflow? Why the heck do you need it to be automated? And then create your checklists. We're going to call workflows and processes checklists today. So build your checklists based on the outcome you are hoping to achieve. For that, so I come from the marketing industry. I was in it for almost 30 years, and we did big projects. I did compliance work. I did annual reports, IPOs, shareholder notifications for banks, insurance companies, mutual fund companies. And we had a very robust system for tracking our work because we had a lot of people involved and we had a lot of elements that we needed to pull together. And one of the biggest ones is that we needed to meet our deadlines because we needed to be compliant with the Securities Commission's guidelines. Sounds a little familiar, right? That whole compliance piece and hard deadlines on a lot of the work that we do. We didn't call them workflows. We called them workbacks. And we started with, what is the end run? What's the final thing that needs to happen here to show that we have achieved success with our processes? And so we started with the final delivery. These had to be distributed across the country. So we would take where the furthest points were, where it was going to be hardest to deliver that product, and what was the hard date that it needed to be there. That was our end run. That was our goal. That was our outcome. And then we started working backwards to create an actionable checklist. Then you can take that checklist and you simply reverse it. So you've got your work back checklist, and you can see that there are the important milestones here. So that would be the due dates. You've got your base tasks. What are the base tasks that you have? You've got the due dates. Oh, no, I said that all wrong. Important milestones. So the job initiated, the design phase, approvals completed, when were they printed, bindery. We also had an import program from China, so maybe swag was going out with these. When did we need to have the imported pieces here? All of the things. And you can see we also had the key players. There was going to be the client who was involved. Again, sounds a little familiar, right? You've got the person who's overseeing the project manager. We had freelance designers. So there was all of these elements that needed to go into our work back checklist. You can now call those workflows. We're about to start at the beginning and make our way through the process with all the elements in place. So I want to talk about the outcome of an onboarding workflow. For me, the number one outcome I'm trying to achieve is that it is a great fit client, that I am going to be able to bring value to their business, that they're going to be able to appreciate our services, and we're going to work hand in hand together along with the rest of both of our teams. I want it to be a pleasing first experience. I want it to be seamless for them. I want them to feel cared for. I want them to understand our processes. I want them to be confident in the technology that we're going to use. I want them to be able to read and understand their reports. I want them to understand that this is going to be a higher level than just compliance work engagement. And I really need to be able to gather all of the documentation from that client so that I have it before I start working with them. So you need to meet your workflow outcomes using milestones. This is the key first step to making sure that your outcomes are being met. Do your milestone tasks or phases of your workflow match what you are trying to achieve? So here are the 7 milestones of onboarding, and I'll give you a little bit of why they go in this order. So the first milestone is the discovery phase. They complete a form, and that form is not overwhelming. This is just the phase where we're going to find out if we were a fit. So it's got the 5 most important questions that I need to ask. The first one is, text matters to us, for us to be efficient. I love all the GLs. I want to qualify. Sage is amazing. Xero is amazing. FreshBooks is amazing. But we're a tiny firm. We can only work in one, and we have chosen to work in QuickBooks Online. So my discovery form asks, will they use QuickBooks Online? And then I learned a lesson along the road. I need the bank feeds to be connected. So that's the second question. Will you allow your bank feeds to be connected? Because I had that a few times. We got along, and then all of a sudden they were going to use QuickBooks Online, And then I found out further into the engagement that they aren't going to connect to their bank feeds. Well, that's not how we work. Our processes aren't going to be smooth, and their outcomes or our value to them are not going to be what is our level. So I asked that question. We deal with incorporated companies. Actually, right now, we've honed our niche. We only deal with accounting firms. So we do the books of the accounting firms. We only do their books, or we do manager file reviews and set up efficiency workflows for their clients' books. But we're not taking on any small businesses. We've moved straight from professional services into accounting firms. We also don't bring value on payroll. So there is a question in my discovery form. Are you willing to manage your own payroll or have it outsourced to a full service team? That's important. Again, I'm not going to bring value. So my discovery form has 5 questions. If they get through those 5 questions, they're going to get a booking link, and we're going to do a 15-minute call, because you always want to lay eyes and have a discussion with them. But they don't get that booking link until I know that we're going to be a fit, because that's part of my income, a great fit client. Then we have that meeting. They fill out a fuller form, but they also have to agree to a paid file review. Even if you don't want to have a paid file review, I highly suggest that you do a file review anyways, so that you can really see what the scope of work is going to look for. You're in the books, and you'll be able to see if what they need aligns with the value that they can bring. Again, we're back to that great fit client thing. We do the file review. They go through that process. And if we get through that, then there is the quote and recurring payment set up. Then we get through the information gathering. And if we don't get through the information gathering section, I don't move on to the engagement. Because if they're not going to engage with us to get us things before they're a full-time client, they're certainly not going to do it in any kind of collaborating way later on. So now we are back to, are they comfortable in our technology? Do they understand our processes? And are they willing to work in it? Because if they're not, again, we can't bring them value, and they're not a great fit for us. So back to my outcomes, great fit client that we can bring value to, and that we need to get through the information gathering stage. Then we do the engagement letter, because now we're all set to start working when I say we're going to start working. Now, I do want to say some of the apps, Ignition, Go, Proposal, Anchor, the engagement letter goes out along with the quote and the recurring payment setup. That's fine if that's your process. I'm telling you my process. But I would like to state, even if you are getting that engagement letter signed ahead of time, make sure it's behind the file review, but also ensure that you have an out within a certain time frame if they don't get you the documentation that you need to start working in their file. If they don't get you incorporation documents, if they don't get you partnership agreements, whatever it is that you've decided you need from them, one of my goals is to be able, outcomes is to be able to start working with the client seamlessly when I said I would. So that's what I'm after here. Then we do the app implementation, and then we do the education. The education is broken down into a number of sections. There's collaboration, we do a security session, and then we do a session on how to use the applications together and find reporting. So I'm just taking a quick look, making sure that I'm not missing any questions. I don't think so. I think I'm fine. Tosin, I'm fine on the questions, I believe. Okay. Oh, Tiffany did ask, what do you consider a reasonable timeline for receiving documents? This is always where the stall begins. Yeah, that's a super kind of individual one. What's going to be the hard stop where you just want to close out a workflow? Is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be a week? Is it going to be a month? This is your business. You need to guide it how it works for you. So it's super important. If you want to close out those workflows and know that you're bringing on a client and this is when you're going to start working and you need to put your team into work for capacity management, is that going to be a week? Is it going to be 2 weeks? I would not let it drag out for a month, because then it's just painful for everybody. That is not a great experience for the client. A great experience for the client also includes cutting them loose if they're not going to be able to work collaboratively with you. You're not going to bring value to them if they don't understand your systems or they can't work within them. So for me, I would have a hard stop at 2 weeks, but really that's going to be available. Answers in there. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody getting together on these questions. Let's crowdsource a little bit. So those are the 7 milestones of onboarding, and they are directly tied to what my outcomes are. So this is what the outcomes of my bookkeeping workflow. Actionable financial data. I mean, ultimately, it's bring value to the client's financials, bring value to their business, and have a collaborating relationship. Actionable financial data. Go ahead, try saying that. It's not easy. Say it 3 times fast. Compliant financial data. I know we like to say, oh, we're not all about compliance. We still need to keep in mind that it's a big part of what we do is the compliance. It may not be sexy, but it is important. Correct financial data. So you want to make sure that this is clean data, that the books are accurate so that they can action the details that are in there. And timely financial data. I prefer my clients are somewhat in real time. For that reason, we generally do weekly bookkeeping. And the books are generally up to date within that week if the clients have given us all of the information that we need. And so when the first of the month, next month rolls around, we're pretty much set to go. We're reconciling. We're really only confirming the final accuracy of the books. So the outcomes: actionable, compliant, correct, and timely financial data. So here's what our milestones are: collect and verify the receipts, post the transactions, clear the bank feeds. Those 3 things we do weekly to the best of our ability. And what's nice about that is if we don't have information, or if the information that we're collecting the receipts we don't know what it's for, all of those things, we can ask those questions in real time. We send at the end, so we send a weekly email. It is templated. It is not automated, because when it goes out weekly, it's going to say, we have run through your books for the week. And then there is a section, this is coming out of Financial Sense, and then there is a section that says, here's what we noticed this week or need more information on. Recats, we are using it for a couple of clients. It's fantastic for cleanups, but a lot of the time we like to leave things sitting in the bank feed. So we have our clients go and see what's in the bank feed still and what's in, we use Dex to collect receipts, what's indexed, and then we put notes indexed and we flag them if we don't know what they're for. Those are our systems for weekly. So that note goes out and we're not scrambling at the end of the month to gather all of the information. Then clear the bank feeds. Then monthly, we reconcile the accounts. We review everything that has gone on in the book. So there's a manager review to make sure we've got a second set of eyes laying on those books. That's the accurate part. And then we do our reporting. And the last one may not seem like a milestone, closing the books. I would like to say that it's super important. Your milestones don't have to be complicated. What they need to be is an address an issue. So we always have a header task, close the books with a password, because it is key to keep the books clean from in the past. And it is really easy to forget. It seems like such a obvious task, miss doing it. So just because it's obvious doesn't mean it shouldn't be listed. And just because it's simple doesn't mean. How important is it? So I said clean books are one of our outcomes. Closing the books with a password is one of the ways to make that happen. So then at the end of the month, when we do the reporting, that's an automated email. That one automatically goes out as part of the process because it is fully templated. We tell them that their books are closed and that the reports are ready, and each of them has a way to access their reports. So we're not sending them. Maybe it's got a link to them, whatever the various things is, but that's templated and automated. and away that goes. So, and back up a little bit further, when we are at the beginning of the milestones, there is also a client task that goes out reminding them to reconnect, to check and reconnect their bank feeds. My clients have somebody in the books. So all I'm saying is these milestones link directly to the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. Don't complicate your early checklist with an app. I know that this is a workflow thing that is provided by Financial Sense, and I think the memo's gone out how much I love Financial Sense and how much it's transformed our work for Marissa and I, my bookkeeper, but also for my client communications. But sometimes we can get in an app and get a little overwhelmed. So don't be afraid to start a workflow in a spreadsheet or in a document, because you can always literally copy it and then go and open either a template or a project. And when you paste that in, it will paste every single line as a separate milestone task. I wish I could show you that. It's super magic. There are videos on my YouTube, Kellie Parks, on this magic. So you copy, and then when you paste it, every single line is going to form a task in Financial Sense. And then you're going to have a second row that's going to have those subtasks. And when you do that, what you do is go back to Financial Sense, open up those milestone tasks from your spreadsheet or doc, copy your subtasks, go in, paste it into that first line of a subtask, and it's going to do it separate items in there as well. And then that's when you start to add all of the super fun things. So Callie says it is incredible to copy and paste into the workflow. It divides amazingly. Every single line that you have will go into Financial Sense as a separate task or subtask line item. Just play with it. Just give it a try. It is absolute magic. And that way you're not lost. Anybody? I'm just me. You get into an app. You love the app. It's got all the toys, it's got all the things. So then you're busy working all the things. And what you're losing sight of is what are your milestones and what are your subtasks. Then once you're in the app, that's when you start to add in all of the fun things. This is where you need to move out of the spreadsheets and into an app that allows you to delegate, to time track, to budget, to put descriptions in. This is where I add the client tasks and then decide how I'm going to automate the client tasks. But first, I need to get all of the things in that we need to do. Then we start adding all of the magic elements that give us all the reasons to now not be using the spreadsheets. We can have them recurring. So you set your recurring. You set all of the things that create systems that are easy, seamless, and consistent to use. So start early in your checklist. Once you get used to using an app and you know you're not going to get lost in the shiny toys, then start to build in your app if you're comfortable with that. But don't be afraid of the spreadsheets or the Word docs. If you're going to do it, I mean, personally, now you're going to get my opinion. Some people love a Word doc. I personally love building things in spreadsheets. I just think you have more ability with cells and with extra sheets and all of the fun things that happen in spreadsheets. So build that base and then add them to the apps. So what are the elements for an optimized workflow? I'm going to slow it down for a second because I'm missing out on the fun here. Yeah, copy and paste is wonderful. Way too much time. So Megan says, I spend way too much time trying to learn it's gone now. Learn the apps and get them set up. It can be a time suck. Not only can it be a time suck, because you're so busy playing in all the shiny objects, because they're magic, you lose sight of what are your outcomes and what are your milestones and what are those subtasks. I agree. You can spend way too much time copy and paste. Oh, good. Somebody tried it. I wish I could demo, but I can't demo today. I work alone. Yeah, so somebody who's a solo works and keeps me on track, saves me time communicating with my clients. I will say one of the reasons I moved from my previous workflow app into Financial Sense, we're tiny. I consult with the bigger firms so I can feel all of your pain. I can see what's happening with you. But our biggest problem was communicating properly with clients, and that has been solved by using Financial Sense for sure. I'm not going to sing on and on about Financial Sense. I love the copy and paste going back. Okay, I think I'm back. So can I say the chat's on fire? And I love that the chat is on fire. Shiny app syndrome. Yeah, I call it SAS. Shiny app attention syndrome, for sure. It's my squirrel. Yep, for sure. Oh, so Lindsay just asked again, why create the workflow in Word or Excel and not directly in Financial Sense, so that you don't get lost in the app? I'm not saying not to create it in. I'm just saying if you find yourself not keeping your outcomes in mind, and you are not building out your milestones because you're busy scrolling around in all of the extra things, build it in a spreadsheet and then bring it in so that you really stay honed in on what is the work you need to do. And then add the details, add the best practices, add the, I will say I have a client with over 3 dozen notes in Financial Sense. So what we do is we actually add in the resources section of a project, we add a link directly to the notes section of the client so that that opens cleanly in a new tab. So the resource links are great. We put in videos, and whenever Marissa has a new thing that she's noticed that she would like to do, she videos it. And if it's a go, then we put that right in our projects. So there are all kinds of things that you can add to optimize your workflow. Okay, then there's going to be the next level. You're going to want to add the communications. So here's how I add the client communications. And so I know my topic isn't automation, but now that I've built out the client tasks and built out our processes, I communicate 3 ways with the clients. In the client task, if I need them to do something and I need to know they've done it, so I send a client task asking them to double check their bank feeds and reconnect them. They check it off, so I know that we're good to go to work in their QBO file. That notifies us in the app that they have done what we've asked them to do. If I want them to be able to download something, I use a client task. And if I want them to be able to upload something within a project, I use a client task. If, like the end of the month, a communication is going to go out, it's not actionable, it's a need to know for the client, then it is an automated email. I said that end of month one goes out because during the weeks of that month, we send out a non-automated yet templated email. So all we have to do is choose it from the drop down. It's already templated, and we can add in the things we noticed for that week. If we get to the end of the month and we still need to know things, we can still send them. We have a need to know templated email. We can send them a need to know, or we can do it through recats. But we don't use an automated email all of the time. The automated email goes out at the end of the month because now we've actually closed their books. We don't need to peck it out every time. And once we hit close books, then that automated email can go out. So be careful with how you're triaging your communications. It comes back to that outcome. What's the outcome you are looking for from the client communications? Do you need them to do something and you need to know they've done it? So an action, an upload, a download. Is it a task you're going to have to chat back and forth on? We chat back and forth on tasks, especially if I'm doing a cleanup file. That's where this is super powerful because we may need to go over and over the same task again with comments. So that is a task, a client task. Templated, automated emails, exactly the same thing every time as soon as we have closed the books. templated emails with variables. When we, can I tell you something else about, well, I'm going to, because I'm the host of the session. So why did I ask? Because I'm going to tell you. The templated emails that go out weekly to our clients, one of the really nice things about that is we are imparting our value every single week when we send out that note. So it said, it's templated in the beginning. It says, hey, we've run through your books this week. I can't remember what it said, blah, 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 blah. I hope your week is great, yada, yada. Then it's got our signature, it's got all the things, and we've customized it to look like us. Our wording sounds like us. And then, so all the template stuff. And then there is a section that says things we noticed this week. That is where we impart not only what we need from them, but we also impart our value. We notice, we do percent of income reports. We notice that your cost of goods sold has run amok. A client of mine, we caught theft because we noticed right away their cost of goods sold, specifically meat, was way out of line that week compared to normal. What Sherry then did was tracked it back to a brand new hire, who it turns out was selling it out the back door. They caught that right away, not later, not a month later, or maybe never, because we had run the correct report and we mentioned it right away to her. So you can impart your value with these templated emails. And then sometimes if it's a really key thing we've noticed. So we noticed in our month over month that a client, they didn't have rent that month. I had been kind of nagging them that they didn't need their office space. They were completely virtual. Nobody was really using it anymore. And I really wanted them to stop using it, but they were clinging on to it. It was a really cool workspace, co-working space. So then I noticed that they didn't have rent. So I sent them a note as part of that weekly email. And I said, we noticed that your rent didn't go through because we have a list of things that we need to look for. And they sent me back a note saying, yeah, we finally listened to you. That was imparting the value almost in real time because they realized I had told them something. I realized they had listened to me. We all felt valued because of that conversation. Same if I notice something has gone to subcontractors, but payroll is all out of line. There's all kinds of ways to elevate your value, even though you're using technology to do it. It doesn't dehumanize the process. It humanizes the process. And one of the outcomes of working with my clients, again, great fit, and that we all feel valued in the relationship. If it is a big milestone, or if it is a big thing that I have noticed in their books, it actually gets put into, we have an ongoing collaboration guide for throughout the year. I don't do taxes. So when it goes to their tax professional, the tax professional has it's called the client collaboration guide. The tax professional has a higher level view before they even go into the books, before they look at the reports, before they do anything. They know this happened in payroll this year. Due to shareholders looks like this. That rent one was a good one. With the tax accountant, we did talk about cost of goods sold and theft. All of these things I want my tax professionals to know for my clients as well, because again, I want all of the relationships for my clients to bring value. So I don't just want them to remember that I notice things other than, your profit was X. I want them to feel like we are deeply involved in their books. And to be fair, it's not a big lift for us. We put it into that client collaboration guide. We don't have to rack our brain at the end of the year. What did we do well? What happened with the client? And away we go. So there is a big value add, even though it's technology leading how it gets done. It does not mean that it isn't human and it doesn't bring value to the relationship. So somebody said they found 1,000. Holy moly. Client was so happy since it was a new client, right? That's such a huge win. Congratulations, Deborah. I will tell you another thing that on the banks, this is weird. Anybody feel my client's pain on this? If they have cash, so my niche used to be restaurants, tons of cash. It costs a lot of money to deposit cash into your own bank account at the bank. That's a big service fee. But 1 month with a client, I noticed it was huge. I noticed it right away because, again, we do weekly bookkeeping. I saw it right at the beginning of the month, and it was way over the top. So sent Sherry a note, and Sherry was able to get that fee reversed right away, not 15 days at the end of the month past the month close, for example. So being in, and I know we don't all have bandwidth for the weekly bookkeeping, but it does help us with overload. So not all of our engagements are for weekly bookkeeping, but we tend to do it because it's an easy lift to run through the bank feeds and the receipts and catch those little things. And then we're not overwhelmed at the beginning of the following month. Okay, so add the client communications discovery forms. So in my re-engagement is a really interesting one in this. So an email goes, so my re-engagement starts with a re-engagement survey. The outcome is I want them to realize that we're getting along great, and make it easy for them to re-engage, but still have a higher level of engagement. So I want the prices to go up, and I want them to justify that they're going up. So a re-engagement survey goes out. It is a link in an automated email. So it's automated, first task goes out, and the client, and it's a link. The client fills it out. I get a notification from Typeform that has happened. That's why it doesn't go out as a client task. I don't need too many notifications. And then we start, depending on the results of the survey, then we start the quote, we redo the payment processor, all of the things. And then at the end, the last task is an automated email that says, hey, I'm so glad that we're continuing our relationship, because it's going to be the same every single time. That one doesn't actually even have any client tasks. So just so you can send out forms using links, you can do the information and gathering forms. You can do links to contracts and engagements. And of course, you have e-signatures built right into Financial Sense. But the other thing is educational videos can go out as part of your communication. These are some other super fun features. Dependencies, especially if you're going to deploy automation. Make sure that you have dependencies so an automation can't happen until previous tasks have happened. So you can't reconcile the books until the bank feeds have been cleared, for example. Tags, whether they're automated or whether they're manual, letting people know what's happening, where things are sitting, who's on first. Recurring schedules, these are super fun features. Task assignments and automations. See where automation sits on all of this. Make sure that you have all of the processes and pieces in place. You've defined your outcomes. You've systematized it, because right back to the beginning, automation built on lousy processes will accelerate lousy outcomes. Now we want to make a list of the lists you need to create. I'm just going to come into the question for a second. How do you add the specific to client info on the templated emails? Yeah, okay. Love to answer that one. So on the templated emails, whether they're automated or not, on the templated emails, you can create a template to begin with, and then you can go ahead and can you duplicate a templated email? I can't remember if you can duplicate a templated email. Otherwise, you can just copy and paste it and create a new email with the information you already have. But then there are placeholders, so you can customize it for each client that way. Or you can take the base information and then change it for what you need. So for example, we have a client that has a process that's a little different than other clients. And that is, we don't give them a list generally, sometimes, but you've always got to have a little grace for your clients. But as a general rule, they go into Dexton, they go into the bank feeds, and they see where the mismatches are. Our other clients, maybe we're using recats, or so the emails are slightly different that go out. So you just need to temper them for how you're going to work for that client. Again, I wouldn't go too far out of processes and set up entirely different processes for each client. So some of those communications should be fairly similar, but there are placeholders so that you can add in the placeholder for the name. So if the email is going to be the same client to client, that's how you can do it. Okay, so make a list of the lists you need to create. What are the lists that you need? Your biggest missteps. Right away, create lists for where your biggest missteps are, or put milestones in. I already mentioned closing the books. Critical that it gets done, easy to forget to do because it's so simple. Make a list of your inconsistent work. Whatever the work is that is not being done consistently, the way that brings value to your client and meets your outcomes, you need to create a list for that. Missed deadlines, work that you're missing deadlines on, create some lists for those. The work that's done least often, some people don't make lists for this. They're like, oh, I don't do it very often, but you forget how to do it. So we have one, it's accounts payable for international vendors. We don't do it that often. First of all, we want to make sure we bill for it, so it is a separate workflow. It has the step-by-steps because it's a weird little workflow with the conversions and all of the things. So it kind of falls into least often done work and complicated processes. We built this fairly early on, though. We didn't wait. We built this because we needed this to be done correctly. Again, so that it was consistent, it was complicated, and we didn't do it very often. And it had to be done right because we're paying vendors in Europe or Asia or wherever we were paying them, wherever they come in. So we built that workflow, and that has really helped with out of scope. It's menu pricing. So right away, we can build that one out. The client knows exactly how much it's going to be when they use an overseas vendor. It's not part of their engagement. It's menu pricing. We do the same with terminating employees and hiring employees. We have separate workflows. They're not done very often, but it does make sure that it gets done correctly and that we get paid for that work. Yeah, okay, so somebody said, oh, Catherine, hi. They're using a password, the consistent password on closing the books. Yeah, we have one client who has a different password. It's led by the tax firm, but we use the same password for all of our clients either because it's not a security thing. It's really just to keep the clients up. So that's one of the simplicity things for our firms. So processes with many steps, multiple communications and several stakeholders. Make sure you're creating lists for those. To summarize, start with the end in mind. Create the milestones first. Don't complicate the process. Add the elements as you go. You don't need to build it perfectly with all of the things. You need to build it so that it works and achieves your outcomes and it manages your work. And then make a list of the lists you need to create. Can I give you all and I know we're about to go over 1 minute, Tosin's going to put the hook on me. Super quick, back to processes that you may not do too often. We check quarterly, depending on the client, maybe monthly, that their GL balances to everything else. And we have a trick on the GL. I don't want to roll through all of the transactions. So when we are checking the GL against the balance sheet and the statement ending balances and the reconciliations, we toggle the GL to the general ledger to the first and last date. Start and finish dates are the last date that we're looking to check. So if it's June 30th, the start and finish on the GL is June 30th, both of them. And then the balance sheet is June 30th. And then there's almost no transactions to look at. You can scroll through super quick, got it on one screen, got the balance sheet on another screen. You can scroll through them. Takes less than minutes, even on a big GL, just by toggling that date, that end date. Okay. Somebody said Financial Sense have a feature for logging credentials. Yes, it has a vault. It also has custom fields. So custom fields then translate to that overall client dashboard where you can see all of the information that you need that is the same for each client. EIN, fiscal year end, all of the information. So both client vault and custom fields. Okay, I think I made it under the wire and we're done. So thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. It was great to see you all in the chat. That was fun. And I think we're going to get kicked out of here. Oh, check the Q&A tab. Oh, okay. Tosin's going to give me a few more minutes. Does Financial Sense have templated? I have created them all. I created all of my templated emails. Do you work with bookkeeping clients to help them get set up correctly? Yes, I do. For someone who wants to tune their current, which breakout room? Okay. Is there a transcript? Yes, there's a video. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate it. And Tosin, I think you're going to end this thing, right?